Welcome to a brand new episode of Backstage 360. If you love opera, you're going to love my guest, Monica Huseman. She'll be performing a beautiful aria from Puccini later on in the show. And it is the debut for the Manitoba School for the Deaf drum group Vibrations. They're a wonderful group of kids. Plus, backstage beautiful, Daria and Shauna will be transforming Charlotte into a beautiful maven. But right now, I have an incredible story about Bruce Hall. He is a photographer, a family man, and quite the amazing story. Bruce Hall is a loving husband, father, and an internationally renowned photographer whose underwater photos have appeared in National Geographic.
In Irvine, California, and I met her there. And
Bruce Hall is also blind. He was born with multiple eye conditions and is considered legally blind with very limited eyesight, but his love for photography grew by looking at the stars through a telescope. With this kind of magnification, Bruce began working with cameras, lenses, magnifiers, and computer screens to construct this new world of sight.
The visual impairment is, it's a disability, but it got in the way. It was a challenge, and I thought, from the time I was a kid, you can't do that, you're not going to be able to do this, you can't drive, it's like, I've driven a car. When I was a teenager, my friends used to take me out on, empty roads and say, drive. Can you see the line down the middle? Yeah, kind of. Just follow that. If you get off track, we'll tell you. So it's like I've always wanted to do things, and people told me I couldn't.
Bruce and his wife Valerie live in California with their 3 children.
Our first child is our daughter, Christina, who's a musician and goes to an arts high school in Orange County. Boys were born in 2001. They were diagnosed at 2 with autism spectrum disorder. And they're at 15 now. Their current diagnosis is pretty lengthy. It's intellectual disability, autism spectrum disorder, behavioral disorder. Jack has some seizure issues. And some self-injurious behavior. It's always been challenging.
Although life for the Hall family has had its challenges, the couple are working on an inspiring book describing their journey raising their twins. Using Bruce's photos and Valerie's personal anecdotes, it is a stunning account called Immersed: Our Experience with Autism.
The first pictures in this project in 2007 really came out of frustration. It was one of those days where I was feeling about as bad as you can feel about the situation. And, always realizing it's not their fault. So what can I do to have some fun today that they might like? And my daughter joined in, and, we started throwing water around the backyard in buckets. And I got a little camera and a housing, and I just started chasing them. And it was the opposite of what I did as a photographer for 20 years, having to control everything, because I had to, because I don't see very well. So I had to just sort of give up control, and just what I learned from it was following their lead, getting in their space, following their energy. And then these pictures started happening, and it's like, what's happening here? It's like street photography on steroids, because they never pose, they never, they're not going to cooperate with you. So follow their lead, see what happens. There are a lot of reasons for doing it. It's like, you deal with doctors, you deal with neurologists, you deal with a bunch of specialists, and sometimes, you're worried your nonverbal child is in pain. So I document the good and the bad. And in doing that, I use it for, I can show the doctor. I say, look, for a week he's been looking like he's got glass in his stomach. We need to do something. And it's also for the book we're coming out with is really our purpose is to put a face to people who don't have a voice, and not just our kids, but everybody else that are struggling with this, because the more severely challenged end of the autism spectrum seems to be missing from the narrative in the media, because I know the media wants feel-good stories, happy endings. Look what this kid is doing, the genius musician, but there's a tough side of this, and I think that that needs a voice. We need to help these families and these kids.
Bruce admits it was Valerie's strength and honesty that kept the project alive.
To be really honest about the book project and everything, I think my wife had the much harder job, It started out 5 years ago. She started writing short narrative pieces, not about the photographs, but sort of around them, or I would give her contact sheets and she would choose photographs that she wanted to write about. So I'd give her a contact sheet with photos that I would be happy if they're in the book. And she kept writing, and I shared it with a couple of friends because I loved it. I said, this is so honest. This is harsh. This is sad. This is funny. This is
reality.
It's beautiful. It's powerful. But I thought, well, that's just me. What do I know? So I shared it with a few close friends who do know something, and they said, keep her going. This is really good. And we've had a lot of help in the last 5 years, and now we're almost finished. I don't believe that a photo is worth 1,000 words. I think photographs with some contextual elements, that completes a picture for me. I think knowing a little background about a photograph really works for me. Some photographs can stand on their own for certain reasons, but I think having some well-written context makes it even better. I think the two together really works well.
For Backstage, I'm Tracy Koga.
Nothing can stop us, we're on the edge. Don't look down tonight.
So now I'm asking you out on a date. A real date, not a hangout like usual. So what do you say? Meet me tomorrow at 7?
Yeah.
Coming up on Snack and a Movie, it's Jenny and Jeff with actor Evan Martin.